Hi, I'm Raederle. I used to play with Barbies a lot growing up. They were really important to me as a form of parts work. I didn't know I was doing parts work, but that was definitely what I was doing. They had ongoing characters, they had a name, they had a personality, they had ongoing interactions and conflicts with each other. When I was 17 or so, I think may have been the first time I heard that the shape of Barbies was giving girls an unrealistic idea of what the human body looked like. Well then. I was brought up in tap dance and jazz, and every year there would be a recital and we would wear this really bright makeup, and my mom actually would help do a lot of the makeup for a lot of the other girls, and a lot of the moms would look at my face and they'd be like, oh, and my mom would explain to them patiently that it was stage makeup. You wouldn't be able to make out the girls' features from such a distance. Now, if you've ever seen Polly Pockets, they're a doll type that's like literally this tall. I'm like not kidding, they're that big. And all they have is a little hinge in the center so they can bend, and their 2 feet are fused together, and they have like kind of a little teeny circular platform that fits into these little circles on the toy. And their head is like 1/3 of their height, because if it wasn't 1/3 of their height, you wouldn't even be able to paint a visible face on a doll that size. Similarly, when you're looking at a Barbie, she's much, much smaller than a human, so it makes sense that some of her features are going to be exaggerated so she looks like she has a shape, because she's small. It's in order to relate to something that's very small relative to you, like if it's far away on a stage, or if it's small, literally small, like a doll this big, you have to change the feature sizes. This is also done with cartoons. When you have less frames per second to follow the actions are exaggerated. So normally an action that may have just been very subtle, like maybe if I was, giving you a dubious expression, I might be like, but the cartoon might be like, in order for you to make sure that you catch it, because it's less clear when you're following something animated, doesn't have as much detail and has less frames per second. For you to be able to relate to that, something has to be exaggerated. This didn't seem to used to be a problem that things were exaggerated. But for some reason it's become a problem, because people literally think everything's supposed to be the way it is now in photos or on the stage, or the way it is for dolls. I don't feel like I ever had this confusion as a child. I think the reason this confusion exists today more than ever, and that you have this explosion of body morphic disorder and all of that kind of stuff, is one, because we have social media, which changes things, because now people are worrying about how they look in a photo relative to how someone else looks in a photo. But another one of the changes is that people are actually spending so much more time in a digital reality than they are in a real reality. Not to say that digital reality isn't real, I could go on a whole tangent with that, but your digital reality is part of your life. If you didn't have an emotional attachment to your digital life that was equal to or even more important than your physical, tangible life, then it wouldn't be so addictive. We actually do release hormones and have strong feelings relative to like a gain or a loss inside a video game. If we didn't, we wouldn't spend so much money on them. Nevertheless, when people don't spend a lot of time around other real people, perhaps they get confused about what real people actually look like, sound like. Although even then I'm still confused, because I spent my whole child being super introverted, and I had my own PC by the time I was 11. And that's when I started typing, and I would spend a ton of time on the internet, so it's not like I grew up in some completely different age than today. Yes, I realize we now have 8-year-olds with cell phones, but I also watched a lot of television growing up, and I didn't really have any friends until I was like 20 years old. So it's not like I spent a ton of time around people. I guess one difference between me and other people, however, is that I am an artist. And so as a teenager, I spent a lot of time studying proportions. I noticed, people are very different from the front. Like people's width from the front is much greater than people's width from the side. People are slender from the side. So if you're feeling insecure about your body and you're young, the chances are that when you're in the grocery store, you should take a look around, because you're probably the most attractive person in that store. The reality is, particularly in America, that people over 25, over 30, tend to have had their health disintegrated at that point, unless they've really gotten educated, unless they've really broken away from mainstream culture. That's just not the majority. And so the chances are that if you're a young person who's even remotely healthy, you're probably one of the most attractive people there. I notice it all the time. I'll always look at some, young person who's like 18 or so, and I'll be like, wow, look at her legs. They are so perfect. She'll be like wearing short shorts or something. And she won't be walking around strutting like she's super confident and sexy. She'll be like looking like some geeky, insecure girl. And I'll be like, that girl has no idea how attractive she is. I didn't have a ton of confidence. It was about 18 actually when I started to really become more confident. And ironically, it was largely because of my boyfriend at the time when I was 18 actually just kept telling me how attractive he thought I was, and so his attraction to me was like kind of proof. It kind of freaks me out that there's so much focus on what people physically look like as a standalone thing separate from health, when there's so much serious stuff happening in the bigger picture of the world right now. I mean, there's so much more serious stuff happening even in an individual's life. Right? Because that insecurity with your body has to actually do with an emotional security that's deeper. I mean, a lot of why having a boyfriend who kept calling me beautiful was so effective wasn't because he was bolstering my esteem relative to my appearance, but because he was bolstering my esteem relative to myself as a person. I didn't have a lot of positive coming at me that somebody wanted to even spend time with me, but him wanting to spend time with me and enjoying my appearance helped boost my esteem as a whole. What you physically look like is just surface level, and it's small potatoes. Even when it feels like really big potatoes, that's because it's representative of something that is really big potatoes for you. Where does this big potato thing even come from? If you want to look at the important stuff going on in your own world, I highly recommend thinking about what is it you're feeling? What are you really insecure about? Not just your appearance. What would make you really feel secure? What would make you feel like your appearance didn't even matter? So that's what I was thinking about this morning while doing my morning workout. One day I'd like to film a day in the life of me, but it's gonna be difficult because I don't get dressed until like 11 a.m. most times. Even if I wake up at 6 a.m., I like to spend usually a bit of time in bed just thinking about life and reflecting for half an hour to an hour and a half. And then I often like to get on my yoga mat and stretch for another 30 minutes or so, which is what I was just doing while I was having these thoughts. Sometimes I get on my computer before I even get dressed. It all just depends. At some point I'll just have to do my life clothed so I can film a day in the life of me. Upon some further reflection, it's really obvious to me that the real reason that people are so insecure in general now, because of the loneliness epidemic, it's not that social media is distorting the way people look at people's bodies so much. Sure, there's some of that going on, but that's just like a surface coating upon a deeper trend. People are spending so much time on social media because they don't have a meaningful relationship that's available to them in their 3D physical experience. That's when you get your touch and your oxytocin lets you know that you're safe and everything is okay. You're not going to get that same feeling. You might get some dopamine real quick, but then it's going to wear off, and it's not that same soothing sensation, and it doesn't have the same message to your subconscious. Your subconscious does not understand that having a monitor in front of you means that you have safe connection that can meet your needs, because your subconscious knows that that's bull. But when you have someone in reality with their arms actually wrapped around you, then you can know that maybe this person's going to be there for you. Maybe this person cares when you cry, and they're going to hear it, and they're going to wonder what's wrong, and they're going to try to do something for you. Perhaps this person cares when you're sick, and they're going to try to take care of you when you're sick. Perhaps this person is going to try to help you move something heavy that's too heavy for you. Perhaps they'll give you a massage if you're sore. None of that's going to happen on Facebook. Maybe you can set something like that up on Facebook. I'm not saying that social media is bad. In fact, I think social media is actually great, and I think it's just revealing to us a deeper problem. The new nuclear home. You might grow up as an only child with two parents who work full time, who you barely see because they're so busy with this, that, and the other. And when you do see them, they're stressed out. And then you grow up and then you repeat the same thing. We're supposed to be in community. That's what our physiology is designed for. That's what every other primate does. They spend tons of time with their family and with their extended family, and with the entire tribe is like so integral to them. And they grieve hard when they lose a member of their tribe. They are very, very connected to everyone else who's there. And studies have shown that the longest lived, healthiest people in the world, the number one thing that's different about these people is that they have really strong ties with other people. Statistically across the board, whether it's going to church, whether it's being part of a club, whether it's being married, whether it's having a larger social network, all of these things are associated with living longer and living better and being healthier along the way. More so than things like macronutrients. In fact, there's pretty much no correlation between protein, fat, and carb ratios and how long you live. There are certain circumstances where you might want to play with those, but way more important from a physical side is antioxidants. That's where the real powerhouses are. Anyways, if you're feeling insecure about your body, try to find some connection. Look for somebody who really cares about you and somebody who you really care about, and spend time with that person. It'll be really good for both of you. I hope you found this video informative, helpful. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video and what else you would like to see from me, any questions you have. I love hearing from you. It really makes this so much worthwhile to make videos when people have something to say about it. It lets me know. I mean, remember how I was just talking about self-esteem and the bigger stuff inside that matters, right? So it's great when you guys compliment my appearance. I really appreciate that. But it's way more meaningful when you compliment like who I am as a person. And also, I actually really appreciate it when you guys tell me things like, I love the production quality of this video, because I'm like, wow, my skills at making videos are improving, and that makes me feel good about myself. It also makes me feel really good about myself whenever I get a new patron, even if it's a $1 patron. So, hey, if you want to go support me on Patreon, I've got lots of perks. Even at the $1 level, you get a lot of bonus content, and you just get even better and better content at higher pledges. So please come check me out there. Once again, and this is Raederle, signing off.